fire, 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 fire. Let's learn about gooners! Okay, I'm ready. How gooning is destroying society forever. Clap, 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 clap. I'm gooning.
Every single day, it's estimated that 11% of people in the US watch adult content, and the biggest tube sites receive hundreds of millions of visitors a day. Meanwhile, a major study from the UK found that 20% of teenagers admitted habitual use and 10% thought they might be addicted. And those are just the people admitting it. You see,
that's probably way higher than that, chat. The 20% are like confident in what like they do. 20%?
just a couple of decades, adult content has transformed from a niche product into a massive billion-dollar market that is saturating all of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Everything online is funneling into it. And essential to this new order are the tube sites, whose shadowy owners rake in hundreds of millions, often while remaining completely anonymous. We've spoken about it before with just one guy. But the scale of this
oh yeah, we watched that video of the guy that owns all the websites. How nobody knows who he is.
Epidemic is way too large to even comprehend. But
I wonder how many people want him dead for that. Probably a lot. That's probably why he hides, right? Not that I want him to be dead, I'm just wondering, you know?
we can understand what's happening on a personal level, and how these companies push people into this terrible addiction, and how all of our basic human instincts are being rewired to make a profit. Because to truly understand the scope of the damage the porn industry is doing, we need to understand the daily lives of people who are so sucked up into this industry that it's completely destroying their lives without anyone ever talking about it. You see, because people's descent into this content addiction—
oh my god, this is amazing! This is so well edited! Sorry, I don't mean to glaze that hard, but this is really well edited.
Addiction starts well before they ever clicked on their first adult video. Today, parents do have a lot more tools to use when bringing up their children, but a lot of the time, these tools bring a lot of unexpected damage. You see, if your kid's acting up or making a scene, or really doing anything the parents don't like, all you gotta do is put this kid in front of a tablet and let them stare at the screen for a few hours while you can relax.
Yeah, it's a placation device. It's like drugs.
Welcome to the generation of iPad kids, where a staggering 40% of 2-year-olds have their own tablets.
40% of 2-year-olds have their own tablet. That's not parenting? Yeah, no, bro, this is terrible. Oh my god. That's insane. Where did this statistic come from? America or like the UK or something?
And in this video, it will soon be clear just how dangerous this really is. But let's rewind a bit, because most people watching this video probably didn't have an iPad at 2 years old.
How do people have money for a fucking iPad? How much is the cheapest iPad? The cheapest one is like $300, man! The Walmart version is $100. Yeah.
But instead got started a completely different way. The way that's completely addicted all of Generation Z and millennials. Just like the subject of our story. Whilst this guy might not have been on an iPad at 2 years old—
oh, don't get it twisted. There's a lot of boomers who discovered the internet and they're like, yeah, I fucking love internet porn. I love it. It's so easily accessible. Yes, I'm gooning.
the faithful day came on his 10th birthday, when his relatively cautious parents finally relented and gave him his very first tablet. As he peeled the cellophane off the screen and sped through various setup menus, he only got more excited. And we all remember that feeling, when you get your first tablet or phone, finally he could do what all kids want to do and go straight to YouTube. Now, despite only being 10, he was already well versed in the platform. Minecraft and Minecraft YouTubers were all that his friends talked about at school. He spent every minute he could watching videos on the ancient family desktop when his parents weren't watching. But now with a device to himself, he was let loose, able to watch whatever he wanted night and day.
That's just bad parenting. My parents always tried to supervise me as much as they could.
Like most kids, he could quickly bypass the flimsy parental controls and made an account of his own. And soon enough, he was doom scrolling away with the best of them. As the days and weeks went past, the novelty quickly wore off. But as this kid got deeper into
his dopamine receptors got fried instantly, chat. Oh my god, dude.
To YouTube, this started to spiral out of hand. At first, he stuck to YouTube as his friends talked about a break time and a lunch. Things in the real world like Lego and Nerf guns still kept his interest, but once the algorithm got a feel for what he liked and adverts started understanding his psychology, it would recommend different things one after another. Different YouTubers, different ads, and soon enough he would spend almost every single day watching hours of content.
I'm very privileged. When I was a kid, I remember like iPhones and iPads only just coming out, and it was mostly for rich kids. Like I don't think they even had like the cheaper options yet, to be honest. Yeah, I genuinely think like some of us are really blessed.
Nerf guns and the Lego bricks start gathering dust. His parents wonder why he doesn't come downstairs anymore. It's a process that happened to hundreds of millions of kids all throughout the West in the last decade. Yep. And let's zoom out of his life quickly and look at what's really started happening. For this kid, it felt like the world moved far too slowly. Adults walk too slowly, they talk too slowly, and each lesson in school seemed to last 1,000 years. Meanwhile at home, he would get bored incredibly quickly. If he wasn't engrossed in the virtual world, then he'd annoy everyone around him until he found a solution.
You can desensitize people like that too, at least at an early age. I remember there was a TikTok of a woman who was exasperated teaching a special needs class, and one of the children who was like 13 years old had severe autism, like almost like borderline non-functioning. And they were trying to like teach them at school, but he would throw a fit, and because he's like kind of a big kid, they would get scared of the child throwing punches and shit, because he was getting to that age where he's kind of like big and he throws his weight around. And the woman said that the only thing that would placate him was an iPad. And then they sat down during a parent-teacher interview with the parents of this autistic child. And they said, hey, yeah, that's what we do, though. When he throws a fit, we just give him his iPad, and then he's good. And she's like, you're not supposed to do that, because then that teaches him that iPad is, like, he will not get his fucking way until he gets his fucking iPad. And that's what's happening with, like, special needs and non-special needs children. Yeah, it's like a coping mechanism. And it's really, really bad for people with disabilities, with mental disabilities like that.
This is where Google's
not just
YouTube
like normal
algorithms
functioning
come in.
people.
They used to offer the only service that
really
can keep up with the attention span of a kid. The related video tab is the key to the whole process, jumping from one piece of the content to the next, which would eventually lead to the disastrous consequences happening to Generation Alpha. But we'll get to that later. But it's critical to understand that it's this process of searching and finding, searching and finding that makes social media a perfect product to get kids hooked in early, as they always get to see bright colors, more dopamine, more excitement, more happiness, and a never-ending thing to click on, which can keep a kid entertained for hours as they ride a never-ending wave of dopamine. Now, this is bad enough by itself, and we've already spoken about this a bunch on the channel. Teachers across the world have already been complaining for years now that kids are getting harder to teach, and we all know this by now, it's kind of old news. But this isn't what we're really focusing on right now. Instead, we want to keep looking at how this is damaging a child's development in a completely different way, and how this very likely happened to you watching this right now.
Fries your dopamine receptors. Why is it looked at that social media is bad for children, and you know how they're frying their dopamine receptors just like drugs do, but for some reason we have zero like regulation on it? I don't know, man. I feel like it's up to the parents, but at the same time, YouTube makes it so accessible and easy. YouTube Kids does absolutely nothing to like gate kids from consuming content constantly, pretty much. Like, yeah, they put on what is it called, like your parental controls, and you can have a restriction for like 20 to 30 minutes a day, but it still fries the receptors for 20-30 minutes a day, I'm sure.
Now, because fast forward a couple of years,
yeah,
this kid
Melon,
just had his 12th birthday. He's about to hit puberty, although there's still obviously a long way to go. By this point, he's so used to scrolling online, he probably plays games online, he sees ads with hot women trying to lure him into scammy websites, and then one day he'll go back to watching YouTube when another video catches his eye. Rather than a
one kill equals remove clothes in Fortnite? My gooner ass needs to see this. I'm gonna beat my schmeat to her titties.
usual Let's Play, this thumbnail has an extremely suggestive image in the thumbnail. Despite his watch history clearly indicating that he's a child, YouTube had recommended this to him anyway. While he didn't click on it the first time he saw it, just like the adverts popping up all over with hot
keeps
women,
recommending
these kinds
it to
of
him.
videos just kept on coming.
If you laugh, you remove clothes. Oh my god, it's Fillion on fucking steroids, 18+ version. No shot! If you laugh, you remove clothes?
Up, and the adverts just kept piling in. These ads on the side of the screen are often far more explicit. He already knew to ignore these, but the constant barrage of this imagery every single time he was on the platform starts to make it all seem normal. Eventually his curiosity gets the better of him, but it isn't what he expected. In fact, it was relatively tame and almost disappointing. He'd type in things like tits on the YouTube search.
Boobies! Show me boobs, YouTube, please. I want to see titties. Chat, which one of you guys was like one of those kids that would go to Google and type in boobs and then take off the fucking safe search filter and goon to that? Me? I was definitely Googling boobs as my chatter. No way! There wasn't a swipe stage for it as I was a kid. Really? I'm pretty sure I remember safe search being very like it was there. You had to like click it off and shit. I went on corn sites. Oh, would you? I didn't even know what porn was until like way later. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty funny.
And it'd always be some scammy weird video. And yet people at school were starting to now talk about things that were far more graphic. But now that he'd shown even just a slight interest in this stuff, YouTube and these
Look at her
adverts
squeezing her boobs together.
this content, as the algorithm doesn't see this as a problem, just a new way to optimize user interaction. Already though, he was starting to feel the negative.
I would type up hot woman. That's actually so wholesome. I don't even know what to say. You didn't even type sexy woman, you typed hot woman. Yes, I would like to see hot woman, please, with big boobies and big vagine. I think it'll have destroyed the next generation, to be honest. Growing up, we were curious, but we were really into, like, kids nowadays, but multiple industries push the agenda of nudity. Yeah, no, Twitter does it too. It constantly recommends, like, fucking porn.
Effects, even if
100%.
he wasn't aware of it. The videos made him feel ashamed, even though he couldn't put his finger on what he had actually done wrong. And yet with this response, he also felt a dopamine rush.
Dopamine.
And so behind the scenes, that same dopaminergic loop that got him addicted to regular YouTube Kids content was working its magic once again.
Yes!
Meanwhile, YouTube's negligent content rules lets tons of inappropriate kids content proliferate the platform. And it's not just on YouTube these days, it's on every social media site. And what's worse, the accompanying adverts, which seem to have no rules whatsoever on what they can show people.
The government is too slow.
And as they're the ones actually paying social media platforms, it makes sense from a cold corporate perspective not to mess with them. YouTube gets away with this by using their dedicated kids app as a shield. Now recently this has got much stricter restrictions and is a whole lot safer for children as of recently.
I don't believe it. I'm pretty sure Cocomelon still makes hand over fist.
The thing is that most kids aren't going to be using that app. Instead, once they find a way around the parental controls, if they've ever been set up, they'll be straight onto the adult platform. Meanwhile, even the safe content plays a similar role to the candy cigarettes of previous generations. While not really harmful in a vacuum, they create the foundation and the pathways for the later much more harmful and real addiction. The process of searching, finding, and browsing through the recommended videos will always remain the same. And as time goes on, this guy kept on watching the videos, although they didn't ever seem to scratch the same itch as they once did. What started out as something new now got boring pretty quickly once again. And so he would have to search for a more extreme dopaminergic response.
And that's the same thing with getting into like really serious porn addiction too.
He needed something more extreme to satiate his dopamine receptors. And that process, while always going on at the micro level, soon appeared as part of an overall trend as well. He'd find something new that caught his attention for a time until it happened to start getting
politics too, and culture wars,
old. Then he'd try and find something else that was more exciting and it would happen all over. And so soon enough, his interest started to expand beyond the scope of what YouTube could even offer. But in his real actual life, none of these needs were being met. His actual deep need for love and sex was instead being satiated by solely pixels on a screen, meaning the actual need for love, community, and family is nowhere near ever met for this guy.
And also your expectations. I know there's people out there who think they want to have like supermodels and women with like massive boobies. But realistically, you're never gonna find like the perfect partner of your dreams that like you gooned to like fucking 15 years ago.
And soon enough, he was looking at one of the sites again, this time for long enough to start watching one of the videos on the front page. At first, most of the stuff seemed gross and just weird. The things that YouTube videos had cloaked in innuendos were fully on display. But over time, this novelty wore off, and he kept coming back, never noticing the habit forming until it was far too late. And soon enough, he was looking at these sites every day. Suddenly, he'd talk about it every day with his friends at school. The content began to seep into his subconscious, and
I remember this one time, this one kid, he was like an exchange student. He pulled out his iPod and started looking at porn at school. And everybody thought it was so weird. The teacher freaked the fuck out and he got expelled for like a week. Yeah, he was like, he wasn't gooning, like, don't get me wrong, but people were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It was like the back of the class and he pulled out his iPod.
His thoughts,
or his iPhone,
shaping the entire way he saw the world around him. As he got deeper into the habit, sacred things like love, romance, and family had all completely disintegrated into a vision of these things that doesn't exist. None of the girls he liked at school looked anything like the women on screen.
No!
He didn't look like the man in the videos either, and he didn't think he ever would. But at the same time, the rest of his life seemed fine. In fact, despite school pressure and everything else, he started getting close with a girl. But even though things might have been going well, the fact that he kept using these sites would completely disturb his thoughts. Real life was completely different. It's risky, it's dangerous, and unpredictable. The things you want are hard. It demanded things from him rather than just offering them. So one day when he began talking about intimacy with her, some of the things he wanted and said started to disturb her. The things that he asked.
Oh my god, he asked her to shit on his chest. You're not an anime girl! Start putting on the clothes! You're not Shy Lily! Start saying womp womp! I'm gonna get you a schoolgirl dress and you're gonna say womp womp.
He now thought were normal frightened her, with his resentment growing towards people like her just because she didn't fit into the site's narratives about women. And at the end of the day, it never really mattered, as he could go right back to what he felt was safe and secure, where he knew he wouldn't be judged on these sites. Really, he should never have been able to get access to these sites in the first place. And for years, this has been a point of contention, because at first there weren't any measures at all to stop kids from looking at them. But eventually, after seeing the disastrous effects these sites can have on children, they eventually put warnings on them when you first load the site. But that's really it. And after a point, it just becomes—
Are you 18 or not? Yes. Okay, welcome on in.
was part of the process and the
yeah,
habit.
That'll stop
it's doubtful people even read that box after the third or fourth time clicking it anyway. But maybe if our subject had downloaded Quitter, the gooning wouldn't have got so out of control. You see, Quitter is the #1 science-backed app, helping over 350,000 men quit porn and rewire their minds for greatness. As we've seen throughout this video, porn addiction is destroying lives. It kills your motivation, it wrecks your relationships, and it keeps you from reaching your full potential. And the truth is, the longer you take to stop gooning, the harder it becomes to quit. So if you're serious about becoming the strongest version of yourself, try Quitter today, as this app—
Quitter. Is this only for gooning or can be used for like smoking and shit?
Isn't just a blocker, it's a community of people who are moving away from the poisonous economy of adult content and porn, who are done living below their potential and are now taking back control of their lives.
Holy
because
moly.
With Quitter, instead of having to go through this addiction—
2 seconds! Wait, I didn't even see that! I've been not gooning for 2 seconds. I need help, you guys! Please!
alone, you can join thousands of others, pushing each other to stay strong, break free of this addiction, and reclaim their lives. Quitter will provide you all the tools you need to overcome your urges. It'll also track your streak, and you can hit a panic button when things get tough, so you never have to fight this alone. With science-based recovery, Quitter rewires your brain to overcome this addiction, which is so important because quitting porn is the first step towards individual greatness. So I highly recommend you download Twitter now and take control of your life. Just make sure you use the link in the description below or the pinned comment below to get started today.
Gooning.
And in some ways, this is society's biggest unsolvable problem right now. It's actually the same kind of issue that faces national parks in the US and their bear populations, where they can't make trash cans.
We went from gooning to bears. I'm afraid. What is this supposed to be an analogy for?
That bears can get into, because if they did, lots of people also wouldn't be able to open them. There's a significant overlap between the smartest bears and the dumbest humans, and kids getting onto these sites involves the same problem. They can't create a test for someone being an adult without kids being able to solve it as well. Of course, they could just check people's IDs, but that then opens up a whole new can of worms when it comes to privacy. Plus,
that's my argument again. Like, yeah, sure, gooning, extreme gooning is bad. Porn is made to make money off of you. Blah 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 blah. But at the same time, the hard solution, is giving your ID to like the government. And that's what happens in like Korea. I'm pretty sure you have to like have zero privacy.
The governments and the sites
so
have
like,
no
what do you
incentive
do?
to actually do this. Once people are on these sites, they use exactly the same techniques that YouTube does to keep people engaged. In fact, they've even come up with some of them before YouTube did. The little preview you can see when you hover over a video on YouTube was actually created by MindGeek, the main empire behind all of the porn sites.
What? Are you serious? That's crazy! Wait, yeah, actually, that's so true. I remember a long time ago, you couldn't preview videos. If you hovered over them, it didn't do anything. You didn't know that? Yeah, no shit, I'm not a gooned out fucking boom boom fucking doom doom like you.
And then Google just later copied this.
That's
this
crazy.
Works so well by shortening the time between clicks even more. It means people can be thinking about and looking forward to the next video even before they started watching the one they just clicked on. And because of the enormous size of these sites, and the fact that they're the top most visited sites around the world, they have huge amounts of data on how the
more than fucking Facebook and Wikipedia. People want to see titties more than learn new information. That's crazy work, and it's almost double that.
Data on how the average user behaves and their sexual preferences. They know that if they can wrap what people want and pull it even further away from reality, then they spend longer on the site. Matter the consequences this has to society as a whole. They create disturbing fetishes in people that never even existed 100 years ago, and it all becomes so normalized.
What is this supposed to be? A fetish for fucking having tentacle hands? What is this one? Dancing? Ah, the dancing sex fetish. Oh.
Years ago. And it all becomes so normalized that these disturbing fetishes are cemented into the public consciousness.
Oh, it's supposed to be poo-poo.
You can name any of these disturbing trends from these sites, and then think how many people were actually interested in this before these sites started pushing it. Other unusual things are also pushed over more vanilla categories and genres. So over time, the searching and finding dopamine loop pushed people into seeking out even stranger things as well.
Oh.
And the stranger things get, the longer people have to spend looking for the right video as well. And it all
So niche porn is like actually how they create freaks? Oh my god, I never thought about it like that. Fox Girls? Fox Girls is not even a niche thing. Nuh-uh, I don't believe
plays
that.
into the algorithmic hands. This is the key to the entire business model, and the
I don't
sites
think
that
so,
were most
Shane.
effective at this were the ones that eventually won the competition and were controlled by MindGeek, which we did an entire video on just a month ago. But the picture is clear that these sites need mass appeal and they need massive amounts of time from each user. If they don't get that, then the business model doesn't work nearly as well. The trouble is that no self-respecting brand wants their products anywhere near these sites, so the only companies they can get to pay for advertisements are strange, shady scam companies. For our character though, none of this was on his mind. Instead, he was just looking for something to get a quick dopamine buzz throughout the day. And like all addictions, the process itself becomes the point of it all rather than the outcome itself. No matter how many hours of life was wasted, none of these sensations would ever get close to scratching the same itch that real life would have done. Instead,
I still think the most powerful thing about a man is the drive to have sex and find a partner. So I genuinely do think that they're, like, this is a conspiracy theory, or at least, like, it's not a conspiracy theory, but it's more so the power behind the male brain and the physique is that your entire drive is to fucking come and goon into women, right? Like, that's the drive. You're supposed to reproduce, have sex, have babies, and take care of babies. That's the main reason. But when you take that away and give easy access to, like, goon to whatever the fuck you want, you're kind of fucked. Like, you got fucked, like, you shot yourself in the fucking foot.
It just pushed him further away from the fears of happiness. So as he got older and becomes an adult, he withdraws into himself even more. Even though he never thought about it like this, it was always a choice between safety and risk, between comfort and discomfort, which meant he never made himself vulnerable and risked rejection because he...
That hasn't been real for decades. I disagree. I think that before the internet came along, I think the male drive to succeed and do great things was to impress the other gender. Yeah. I downloaded the app and it costs fucking money to get to the main part of the app when the app itself is fucking free. That's so cringe! Ew!
Always had a safe alternative to rely on instead of finding someone to actually share life with, to have universal experiences with, and to create eventually a family with, he could just turn to his screen. And whilst this guy is a fictional character, these patterns are all too real for millions and even possibly tens of millions of young men growing up today. In fact, almost everyone in Western society is watching this stuff now.
I know this isn't the time or the place to say this, but what about women? Do you think there's, like, women who are, like, addicted to fucking gooning? Like, 100% addicted to gooning. Probably not as bad as men. Plenty. Goonettes. Goonettes! I like that. Yes, Fillion? What are you talking about? How dare you type billion in my chat? Fillion is way too powerful. I've met several. Have you now? I've dated a goonette? Really? What?
Even before they've hit puberty. In fact, today, Generation Alpha will get into this addiction sooner and fall far deeper into the rabbit hole than our main character ever did. With the rise of iPad kids, it's just inevitable that the age they see this content will get pushed further and further back. Which begs the question, when...
The iPad to gooner pipeline is very, very real, and I think that seriously becomes a problem. Yeah. These are almost always driven by the religious. Note how the only solutions being pushed here is to stop gooning, not excessive gooning or youth access to porn. No, did you not watch the first 15 minutes of the video? They literally, this isn't religious at all. I haven't seen that connotation at all. He's more talking about family values and how your dopamine drive shuts down and how corporations are exploiting you. The app, sure, I don't know. The app, I haven't looked at the app. Maybe it is, but the video at all hasn't said anything about religion. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with gooning, to be honest. That's fine. You can disagree. I think that gooning 24/7 can fuck you up. That's all I'm gonna say.
Where is all of this going? It's a completely recent phenomenon,
like 3 times a day, you're fucked.
Distorting society as we know
cooked.
it. Everything we see on our algorithms, the things like OnlyFans, and the way this stuff is so widely promoted, will have consequences that we can't even see yet. And it's really criminal how little we actually know about the people behind this tragedy.
Yeah, because there's so many people's lives they've ruined. It's kind of like why you don't know who the kingpin of the drug dealers are.
The last video about MindGeek and the twisted story of who was really behind their massive operations, it turns out even the leadership structure is a complete mystery. And the thing is, the main guy in that video doesn't even own the largest tube site. That dishonor goes to an almost completely unknown company called WGCZ Holding Ltd. This Czech shell company has almost no footprint whatsoever. Their only address on file is a tiny office in Prague above a
Czech Republic, those damn Czechs.
Dry cleaners. Their CEO has almost no information.
Dry cleaners? Damn, they're doing a good job of hiding them, huh?
out whatsoever, except for one interview that people aren't even sure is real. Meanwhile, it's estimated that they pull in hundreds of millions a year from their network of sites. And while it's unlikely you'll be able to change anything about the industry or the people behind it at all, you can at least change how you personally interact with it, as the only way anyone actually quits this habit is if they personally made the choice to stop.
It's a drug addiction, essentially. Chat, there's nothing wrong with masturbating. Can I just say that so the people that are upset are like, oh my god, Alana, you're saying I shouldn't masturbate? Chat, it's normal to masturbate. I'm talking about like fucking gooning 3 times a day. It's like excessive eating. It's not good for you. Excessive eating, alcoholism, fucking doing drugs. Yeah, it's all relative, chat. It's fine. I don't know, man. I'm not your mom. I'm not your mom. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just saying everything is better in moderation. Don't spend your entire fucking day thinking about what you're gonna jerk off to next. Then you might have a problem, chat.